All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Professional Insights, brought to you by the National Referral Network. This is where we share professional insights for the benefit of everyone. Jim, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Morning, Mike.
Jim, briefly describe what your area of expertise is, because we're going to get into some stuff I'm really interested in this morning. But why don't you give me the disclaimers?
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah, I'm a business coach. I work with small businesses under $20 million in revenues and employees under 50, primarily helping them be able to create revenue growth strategies is my main area of focus.
So you help people make money. That's basic.
That's exactly right. Yes. Many of them are struggling to do so, and many of them actually are in good place, but they want to grow. And so I help both.
All right, good. Yeah, everybody wants to make more money. And with that in mind, the word brand gets thrown around a lot. You see a lot of books written about it, a lot of people talking about it. And I, for a while, kind of rejected it as sort of I don't know, maybe it was business fashion. Let's say that's how I identified it. Everybody's building their brand. But what I've come to understand is it really is about identity. It's how I'm seen and how I'm understood and how what I do is understood. I want to talk about that for a few minutes. Why is brand and identity so important?
It's the way that you show up in the marketplace. It's how you communicate to your prospective customer, and being able to understand where they are and have that connection with them. And so you got to know who you are. You got to be solid in that. You got to know what you provide uniquely, and then be able to make that connection to the client.
And do you find that most professionals, I mean, let's just be blunt about it, kind of don't have a clue when it comes to communicating who they are, what they do, what makes them special, all that stuff?
Absolutely. I mean, professionals and small businesses alone, right? Many people come in with a trade or a background and experience, and they try to find a niche which they want to work in, but they don't understand how to bridge that gap, and they don't really know their true customer avatar, to be honest with you. And so it starts with the customer, and it kind of comes back to you and aligning those skills that you have with that customer avatar.
And so how does somebody begin to craft an identity? What should they be thinking about? What are the initial steps?
The initial steps will be first understanding what you have uniquely to offer, and then seeing if there is a market for that in the marketplace. Okay. And then be able to cater your skill sets to what actually is needed out there. Many small businesses and professionals want to kind of force what they have into the market. There may not be that. And so you need both pieces. Step one is yourself. Step two is the market.
So what if you're a professional? What if you're, say, I don't know, an attorney or a CPA or someone like that? You still need to differentiate yourself from your peers. Yes, how do you go about doing something like that? What are some easy and simple things to think about and do?
Sure. I mean, if you want to broadly meet the general demand of the market, that's pretty easy button type areas. But you're also competing with many other people in the general space. If you want to specialize, it's a little bit different approach. So from a generalized perspective, you just need to be able to find the mass market that's out there, and you'll be able to differentiate yourself to one piece. Maybe it's price point, which is typically what everybody falls back to, but maybe it's your experience. Maybe it's uniquely to the industry. And so identifying those specific pieces that kind of start narrowing from general to specific.
Okay. So in other words, you have to build, and let's talk about, kind of crafting a unique story. I mean, I know for me, first time I meet somebody that I'm going to consider doing business with, I kind of want to know who they are. I want to know what makes them different from everybody else like them that I would talk to. How do you coach people to get there?
Right. I mean, it's a multi-step process, and I actually have a strategy that takes about 16 weeks to go through called the positional market dominance. And so the beginning parts of that really has to do with them being able to identify uniquely what is there and what they have. So similar to step what we talked a minute ago, it starts in the same place. And then also, again, you got to be able to connect to the customer at where they are. Customers buy emotionally. You got to be able to figure out what they are and be able to connect with that point with them.
Okay. And what are some of the more common emotional connection points that you see?
Right. We can pick any industry. We can go back to, say, CPAs, for example.
Yeah.
Let's just pick an industry, call it construction. If it depends if you want to just do taxes or do tax strategy. Those are two different types of products for CPAs.
Right. Yeah.
Let's say it's a tax strategy product. then they want to be able to intimately understand that construction market, understand the pain points that those contractors have as they're out there in the marketplace, and be able to help them be able to formulate a strategy that helps them grow their business first and then tax second, right? Unless they have a different unique area of tax liability that they need to be sheltered, then they can somewhat right size the two strategies.
So it's a little bit like when you go to the doctor and the doctor says, "Show me where it hurts." Isn't that what every professional should be opening with? Show me where it hurts, or something like that?
That's a great question. Yes. Again, you intimately need to understand the emotional issues that specific contractor has, because not every contractor is the same, and they're not in the same place in their long-term goals or on their tax strategy goals.
And what are some of the more common emotional issues that the end user is facing these days? Is it, I don't want to get audited, I don't, or I don't, I want to make sure that my estate doesn't get eaten up by my spendthrift cousin, or I mean, it could be a whole host of things, right?
It really is. And honestly, even from a coach perspective, where I work with my customers really is the long-term goals. What is it? They want to have more time freedom. They want to have more financial stability. And within that, everything kind of falls and trickles down, right? And so their long-term goals may be different from one person to the next, but usually it falls in those two categories. And I would say most professionals are in the same bucket.
So the idea of personal brand and identity really is about getting to solving the problem, getting to the core of where that end user lives and what they're emotionally motivated them to come see that person in the first place.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. Emotion really is what drives the purchasing decision.
Okay. And what are some of the common obstacles that today's professional faces? Is it just that they're unaccustomed to doing this? Are there, I don't know, maybe personal barriers? Maybe they feel like, I'm good at what I do, but I don't want to sell what I do. I don't want to pitch, things like that. Are those some of the more common obstacles?
Agreed. I would say that's more secondary. I think their main obstacle they have is they just don't know how to communicate what they offer and meeting the client where they are. Secondarily to that is their apprehension to actually sell. Okay. They want clients to come to them.
Should they be writing down, kind of an interview or an intake or a process that they would use every single time with every single person they talk to? Would that be a good way to start?
Absolutely. Yeah. Having a good checklist of conversations and conversation starters to be able to get where they are and to assess their client and meet them. That's after they've already made contact with their prospect and they're starting to intake them. Yes, there needs to be a checklist of conversation.
And what should they be focused on?
Start with the basics. Understand the lay of the land. Understand how long they've been in business. Understand their goals, what they're trying to get towards. Right. You got to know where they're going before you can help them get there.
So they should be talking more about the person they're talking to rather than talking about themselves.
I think that's rhetorical. Yes, absolutely. But it's not obvious. I know, but your question was rhetorical, I'm sure.
Well, I know in our business, in finance, there comes a point as an advisor where you begin to understand the science of how investments work and how they interact and all that stuff. And one of the traps you can fall into is you're so excited that you understand it, you want to share what you understand. Not realizing that your clients really don't care about the minutia. Do you find that some professionals wander off into the weeds and get into the minutia and start using industry speak? And do you feel like they lose people? Is that
absolutely?
And how do you coach people out of that?
Right. Well, I think figuring out what their process is to go to their clients, and I just have them role play. A role play is a great way as a business coach to be able to work with their client and work through those issues, and those rise up to the top. Some of them are stuck on the certifications on their wall, and they want to put themselves out there, and that's how they think they differentiate themselves.
And what do you find happens once somebody makes this shift, whether it's a small business owner, whether it's a professional, what have you? Once they make that shift into communicating effectively who they are, what they do, what makes it unique, all the stuff we're talking about. Once they make that shift and begin to master this a little bit, what generally happens in their business?
Well, their business usually will stabilize, and then it'll move forward. But it will move forward with the clients that actually are attracted to them, and they're attracted to each other. It'll be better quality clients going forward, longer term clients, not just running the mill of one client for a couple of years. It's a longer term relationship because they're connecting at a deeper level.
Okay, so in other words, this is about attracting the people that you want, but at the same time, kind of repelling the people you don't want. So you win both ways. Is that right?
That's correct. And because many professionals are not apt to sell or desiring to sell, what they want to do is they want to go out there and get as many as they can, regardless of how good of a client they actually are. They're not willing to say no to clients.
So you're right. So professionals should learn who they don't want, right? They should learn who to say no to just as much as they need to learn who to say yes to.
Well, actually, I think if they know who they want to say yes to, everybody else is outside the bucket.
Right. Okay. Well, that too. No, that's a good way of putting it. So it really is about focusing. I guess just to summarize and wrap this up a little bit, it's about focusing on what your story is, what is your identity, who do you fit for, who do you not fit for, and it sounds like, and the last thing I'll say is just staying really disciplined and really focused on that. Is that more or less correct?
Focus is very important, right? Because again, we want to grow out and capture as many as we can, but focusing really helps us go deep with who we're supposed to be with.
Okay. Well, listen, we want to thank you for giving us some time this morning. This is a subject I'm really interested in, and again, I didn't embrace it initially. I do now because I understand how important identity is. If you like what you heard, hit the subscribe button on the link below. We are here every Tuesday with more professional insights, and we want to thank you again, Jim, for giving us some time. We will see you all next week.